All right, Audrey. Recently, I was down in San Diego for the Democratic State Convention, and we didn't come up with an endorsement for Dianne Feinstein for senator or anyone for senator, and there was other races that there was no endorsement. It was a popular pick, actually, but before even going down there was not an endorsement for this race. But is that something you really wanted? And I mean, I kind of said during the show that I'm starting to think it's a little absurd because candidates are actually spending a lot of their resources trying to get that nomination, that endorsement. Is it something you wanted? And then I kind of have a follow-up question with that.
Yeah, you bet. I got into the race 25 days before the pre-endorsement caucus where the vote was held. And in 25 days, I managed to earn 25% of the vote cast. I did not go into this race expecting to be able to make up enough ground to be able to get the pre-endorsement. And so for me to get 25% of that vote right away was a big win. And whilst Dianne Feinstein did not get an endorsement, you are looking at one person who did get an endorsement down there. The California Young Democrats at a statewide level endorsed my candidacy as their choice for our district. And for me, that was a really powerful moment because this is the arm of the state party that represents all Democrats age 35 and under. And so to figuratively walk out of San Diego, I wasn't there. But to have the door shut on that convention with me earning that endorsement was a big victory in my eyes and a big honor. And I'm excited to keep working with various chapters of Young Democrats in the North State to push forward my candidacy.
It's a big deal. I got word of mouth around to me at the convention because I'm sort of separate from that group. But it was they got the Democratic Party did endorse. Well, I found out it was the Young Democrats, but it's still an incredible
Democrats nonetheless.
Yeah. Let's start talking about this because this is a big thing. And Connor Lamb just recently won in Pennsylvania. And, there's a lot of buzz because that district is red plus 11. And we have the exact same district based on we are a red plus 11. Now, there's a lot of factors that differentiate the two. But quickly on social media, it's like, wow, we could do this. We could possibly do this. But in order to do that, you talk about the percentage you got there, you'll need a percentage of independents. You'll need a percentage of moderates and possibly, some Republicans to side with you. It seems like that's maybe what Connor Lamb got and maybe the type of campaign he ran. But I guess what I'm saying is how are you feeling with that? And what are like three things you would say to those independents or some of those people that are on the fringe and not sure about either party?
Yeah, I got to be honest, I was floored when that happened. Connor Lamb is 33. I will be 33 for a few more days. And so my youth has been a point of conversation over the past 10 weeks. And I love to tell people that I have decades to serve them in Congress when they send me there. But seeing someone who is so close to my age also get elected in this manner was really exciting. And while I don't think that, the Pennsylvania 18th is exactly like our district, there are some similarities. And my big takeaway from that is that Democrats can win in every single district across this country. And we're going to take back the House this year. And it's not just taking back the House, but it's the sheer magnitude and the way that we take back the House. And by having Democrats win in districts like Pennsylvania's 18th and California's 1st is going to show the rest of the world that we are not who sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and we still are a country with some semblance of moral authority. And so for me, it's been a really powerful week and a really inspiring week, and it allows me to get my team fired up and saying, hey, we can do this, and we can do this year. In terms of what I tell moderates, NPP voters, some of our disenfranchised Republicans in the district is threefold. And the first part of it is we need change. We need change in Washington. The establishment on both sides is not not working for us and is not getting things done. The second thing that I tell them is that I'm one of them. I get what they want. I understand what they want. Not that I'm a Republican and not that I'm an NPP, but I understand the issues here. And I've heard from people, and the issues here that are affecting them are healthcare. Healthcare is too expensive. Their kids can't get educations to prepare them for their future. The tax system is rigged against them and is threatening their Social Security and Medicare. I understand those issues, and those are the things that I would work for, and that's the vision that I have for our district. So Washington needs to be shaken up. Yeah. I hear them, I see them, I care about the things that they care about. And the third thing that I would tell them is, I will be beholden to you and no one else. We can't get anything done in Washington until we get corporate money out of politics. We have to fight that and give people back the chance to make their voices heard and not corporations. And so, my campaign isn't taking any corporate PAC money. We're just taking money from individual donations. And when I get to Washington, I will aggressively fight to make sure that we can get corporate money out of politics, so we can tackle this agenda put forward to make life better for the people that live in this district.
Mm-hmm. What you're talking about really is an authenticity about yourself as a candidate and the things you believe in, and the things that the constituents here in the district are talking about that matter to them. And I think that the lesson of Connor Lamb, was about authenticity. Now, he had a message that resonated with that district. As they say, he was very well meshed with that district in terms of running as a candidate. And you are here too, but you can't necessarily take the lessons of that, I don't think, and graft them onto your race, because again, there are different districts, different people that make up that. But the question I really have for you is, we talked a little bit before the show started, is, how do you kind of coordinate what the constituents are telling you are important to them with what your core beliefs are? Because you need to maybe bend a little in some ways, but there's certain core things that you can't bend on, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I want to touch on a couple of different things in there. And the first thing is that when I get to talk to people and listen to people, I get to share every day my character and the parts of me that make me me. And that's all scaffolded around this framework of an inherent belief in the rights and dignity of all people, right? And so that is the core part of my being that will never change. And that's deeply rooted in my progressive faith tradition. That's deeply rooted in my human rights formation. That's just kind of who I am, and who you're going to get if you elect me is a person who will treat everyone equally under the law. That said, that same human rights perspective that I bring pushes me to see and pushes me to hear how people are experiencing their lives in the district and how their government can work to make sure that their human rights are provided for. And I love talking about human rights on the campaign trail, because so often we think about it in terms of our international treaties and our international peacekeeping missions, and how do we make sure that we're using our economic powers around the world to ensure human rights in other countries. But right here in District 1, we are experiencing human rights violations on a daily basis, because people don't have an adequate standard of living. People don't have universal health care. They don't have the education that they need to be successful. And those are all things that are enshrined in Article 25 and 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And so when I go out to these rural places to talk to folks, the same issues are coming up. And those are the same issues that are core to my campaign, that are, how do we make sure that people can get good, dignified jobs in our community? How do we keep our friends and our families safe from the natural disasters that are coming our way? And how do we make sure that they get the health care that they need? And so for me, campaigning is about not changing my messaging or trying to tell people what they want to hear, but it's about authentically listening about what would really make people's lives better, and then figuring out a way that the government can help do that.
I don't want to kind of get you away from your message, but when you say those things, and I'm like, that's so logical. That makes sense. Who could not be for that? But Doug LaMalfa isn't necessarily running on those principles. I mean, what is he running on? I mean, he would say that's not that I'm running on responsibility and liberty and people's rights and all these things. But I mean, that may not be true, right? I mean, there's reasons why people are Republicans. There's reasons why people are Democrats. So, why is what you're saying? Why does that make more sense? Do you think? Why is it a better fit for the district than maybe what LaMalfa's message is?
Well, let's step this back a second, because when we're talking about Republicans today and we're talking about Republicans in leadership, we're talking about Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan, and their entire interest is to give tax cuts and tax breaks to their wealthy donors. And that's full stop right now, the agenda of the Republican Party that's controlling the House and the Senate. Okay, so if we can set that aside and then look at the actual Republicans who live in this district, we see people who believe in small government. They don't believe necessarily that it's the government's role to do these things that I like to talk about. And those are the conversations I love to have. I find myself often at a dinner table with a libertarian rancher from Modoc County, or a forester from the Susanville area, and we get to have enlightened conversations about the role of government, and we get to talk about social safety nets and who should pay for them, and should we have them, and who should we cap Social Security or should we not? And we get to have these amazing kind of policy conversations that are important to have. And that I love having those conversations with Republicans. But when we're talking about Representative LaMalfa walking lockstep with the Trump agenda, or we talk about the leadership in the House and the Senate right now, we're not at a place where that section of the party can have real discussions about making life better for their constituents, because that's not what is on their agenda.